Are we just not seeing parts of Michelle's storyline, and is she getting sidelined in this show in some ways?
I'm not sure how much she really feels about it, or it is the production who tries to dramatize it and try to insinuate things by asking leading questions. That was also handled very casually, like it was nothing. I was just angry and it was an outburst and that's it. And
Yeah, how could you just readily accept that?
I mean, the
Vibe
things
killer,
she said.
Karen energy.
Even if you're angry on somebody, it feels like there is a context to it. But Danny, you don't jump into other people's conversations. You basically maintain your calm and composure all the time, and you only get so talkative and expressive only after a few drinks.
I'm sure Janet was begging for this moment too, and just thinking about
True.
what Darkside Danny looks like, I don't know, I think he's not that bad.
Hey guys, welcome to B-Side Reality. We are Panda.
And Issel, and we are a couple who can't get enough of reality TV.
This channel is our space to dissect the drama, the chaos, and the wild moments
From our favorite shows, and hopefully yours too.
So grab a snack
Settle in,
and let's dive in.
We have not had a lot of chances to film this week. We have to
True.
catch up on The Valley, episodes 5 through 8 of Survivor, season
Yeah.
46.
Yeah.
We've watched it. It was really entertaining, but that's not the topic of today's video. We're talking about The Valley today.
I was sure with the Survivor I was going to watch the whole way.
It's so entertaining.
Yeah, it's the drug you can't get enough of.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm shocked I ever took a break from that whole show. Oh my god, are we recording? Yeah, we are. That's so weird. This is just weird. Anyways. Sorry, we don't want another recording mishap here.
Exactly.
It's so hard.
That was brutal.
Jumping into this episode, Kristen and Luke are hosting a housewarming party, and this is the first time that everyone has really been in one space. Like, we had the beach scene, of course, but Zach, Danny, Nia, Jesse did not attend that event. They went to their own event, and I think it was so non-eventful that we didn't really do.
That was so boring.
We didn't see anything from
Even
that.
to watch.
Yeah. So what happens at the housewarming? We catch Jasmine. It seems like she wants to have a talk with Janet and Jason. It's not going to happen at this housewarming party, though. She basically just says, let's set up a time in a separate space to do that. So
that it's all you and me. Only the parties involved are there, so that there is no chance somebody else jumping into the discussion and polluting it.
that just means that nothing interesting really happens on their part. But
Jasmine was waiting for her partner to be there,
Yeah.
also present. So and she was not there. She was out of town. So she was like, okay, let her come back. Then we four adults can meet up and discuss and hash it out.
being double teamed in some way at the beach was hard.
Yeah.
I also feel like with all that emotion, like, again, I said before, if Janet was not part of that conversation, if Jason and Jasmine were left alone to talk about it, it would have been better just because the way that they were communicating was not working out. But they've agreed to talk about it. Jason and Janet are actually very open to it. And Sheena's there to be like, oh, that went a lot better than I. But, like, I don't know. It just feels so anticlimactic because it's already, like, so nice and civil. And it should be, because I was feeling it last episode, like, thinking about this friendship that they've had so many years invested into it, and it's falling apart. I was hoping it would, like, come together, but with just how easy it kind of looked like just in that single moment, and then knowing what happens later.
More like a stunt, you know?
Yeah, it does not feel real anymore. Anyways, that's a small minor part. It literally was like a blip in the whole episode. One of Zach's friends, also a mutual friend of Sheena, because Sheena knows everyone, I guess, Jenna, she has a moment where she's like with Jesse. She's like, oh, I dated Aaron. And Jesse was just like, who's Aaron? And I don't know if he was like genuinely like, oh, I don't remember the name of Aaron, who is dating my...
Michelle.
Yeah, of Michelle,
And-
or
and-
if he was
and-
just pretending.
And I was very surprised that how come Michelle skipped all that? She was there in the party, right? This is happening, and Zach and Jaina and Jesse are talking about Aaron, and Michelle was there in the party. How come she never got any hint of that?
Yeah, I was thinking about this too, of like what it was that Jenna was sharing, that she had dated Aaron twice. Once 5 years ago, and then a second time 1.5 years ago. I don't really understand the significance of this. Like, it sounds like you barely know him. 2 dates and 3.5 years
Wow.
gap between
Yes.
those 2 dates. Like, why is this even significant?
Yeah. Tell us the relevance.
I forgot the part where you were saying that Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse is trying to put up a timeline where he could show that, okay, you have been cheating on me while we are still together, not before all these problems emerged between us. And so basically, it's a you thing, not a us thing, which Michelle tells that we have already broken up and separated. Then I started dating other people. That's Michelle's stance in all of this. And now Jesse is trying to build up a timeline and show that when you are dating and you have dated multiple people, and the way you are high horsing me, like that my dates and flings are not okay when our child is in a impressionable age and could get affected by all this in a negative way, and you are with a guy who is basically not suitable to be around my kid. So it's a mutual mudslinging that, as we already know, it's all about scoring points and how many wins I have against you. That's where Jesse is right now. That's where his mind is.
It's really weak. Like I said, 3.5 years between the 2 dates. I don't think it's worth mentioning. And then we get a little moment where Luke is talking to Danny, and Luke is planning a proposal for
Yeah.
Kristen, and I like it. I'm excited for it.
Yes.
Like in the after show, we can see that I think she's pregnant, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm pleased. I'm happy for them both. Yeah, that's it.
Since the time we have seen Kristen Doty coming from Vanderpump Rules, break up with Sandoval, and now having a life and a baby with Luke. Ups and downs. That makes it beautiful, you know?
It just signals, like, hopefully she's moving forward into a better chapter, one where she really is acting her age.
Yeah. You know, the kind of toxicity she was surrounded by, and the kind of things that were happening, the affairs, the lies, the fights. Hopefully she'll find some stability.
Yeah, and she's really been wanting to have a child. Is she going to be a good mother? I hope so. But like, when people really want it, I wish the best.
They do
for all
change
of them.
if they want something.
Well, I hope they change. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people who have bad experiences with parents, but
Time will tell.
And then one of the other things that comes out from this night is Brittany shares basically what happened in that closing scene of the last episode, where she's on a call with Jenny, Jax's sister, and I don't know when this was revealed, but like Jax ended up being taken to the hospital for like high blood pressure. But in this episode, Brittany is basically saying that did not happen. Jax forced the rehab like receptionist or something to lie and say that he was going to the hospital, and I guess the therapist was there to observe this all happening, and so the therapist felt compelled to share this truth with Brittany.
Yes.
I don't know.
Sometimes I don't even understand the point of all these lies. Like, even if you're lying, there has to be a purpose to a lie. But just this meaningless sympathy that he wants to garner from people and audience, and again, you don't even give time to that. You just make a big U-turn, and we get the truth and the lie in the same plate.
Yeah, like literally it's an obvious lie, and
in LA everybody is an actor, and whenever they get a chance to do some acting, they jump on it. I think so.
I don't get it. I can't get in the mind of someone like Jax. I don't want to, but like it just makes it hard to like know how to talk about him because I do not understand it. Anyways, that's it for Kristen and Luke's housewarming. And then we have a moment where Michelle meets with Lala, and I don't really want to linger on this too long. It's a pretty short scene, and the most significant thing here is we learned that Michelle, back in season 1, her mother had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and
that's sad.
It's so hard. Like, I don't watch any movies related to cancer because cancer is a big thing in my family. Like, literally everyone on my dad's side has passed away from cancer. I really sympathize with her, and I don't want to linger on it too much because we kind of get to this later, but
you know, you're missing out the main point on which they're trying to bond over. That's like they all have a kid. They both have a kid who is too entitled in their behavior because of their fathers.
That's true too.
So how they are trying to navigate that and do a better parenting and raise a better kid, a better human being. So they're trying to bond over that.
Yeah. I don't want to talk too much about this here because we're going to address this more later on, but like the fact that we didn't know this about Michelle, one, is it because they didn't know if it was okay to bring this up on the show? Like Lala very much goes out of her way to be like, hey, is it okay for us to talk about this? Or two, are we just not seeing parts of Michelle's storyline, and is she getting sidelined in the show in some ways, because that comes up later in the show where she expresses that she doesn't feel like she's getting the support that Brittany is getting now.
I'm not sure how much she really feels about it, or it is the production who tries to dramatize it and try to insinuate things by asking leading questions. Okay, everybody's supporting Britney. How do you feel in this scenario? Because you could see that they dramatize it and they show and zoom in on Michelle whenever we are talking, like this support party or whatever they're doing for Britney, and everybody's together. They try to zoom in on Michelle's face and try to do this voice in the background, like how Michelle felt in that situation. Like they must be doing this clever editing thing to put this strategically to make you feel that every time she may not or she might. Okay, but yes, that's something we are noticing, which may build up to something in the future.
Yeah, we'll see. The next big moment in this episode is Jasmine and Melissa meet up with Jason and Janet. I am so underwhelmed and like disappointed because I don't understand how we got here. Like, Janet is basically confronting Jasmine, saying that like, hey, you said this, you told Kristen, blah blah blah, and Jasmine is like saying, no, I didn't say anything to Kristen. But that goes against everything that we were saying in the last episode. She basically says, I never told Kristen anything, and maybe there's a communication issue here. Like, I just don't understand how she's saying these things, but for me it comes off as a lie.
Because you could clearly see the camera showing it. Right?
I don't know.
And I don't know what happened behind closed doors, what Jason and Janet talked over it and how they prepped themselves for this meeting, but I just saw Janet in her best behavior in this meeting.
Yeah, so like, did they just hash things out off screen? Like, then just hash it out off screen and then tell us, later on that like you had a moment, but don't like fake this thing coming together where you guys are okay again, because it doesn't come off authentically, even the way that you guys are playing it out right now. It goes against what we've already heard as an audience. The bigger thing that you guys were concerned about too is, oh, Jasmine, it's not like you just repeated this, you made it up too. And very quickly they're able to settle, oh, of course you wouldn't make this up. It's just so weird.
It is tough to imagine that the beach thing that happened is the precursor to this meeting.
Yeah. If they had just approached it this way from the very start, I would be okay with it.
Yeah.
But like, all that build up at the beach, for what? For what? And again, I felt it, okay? I really felt for their friendship, because it sounds like it goes back decades, or, at least a decade. Janet crying about how it feels like she's been dumped or whatever. I have experienced that same thing. So, yeah. And then we have a moment where Janet is like in her confessional or whatever, and she's talking about how like Jasmine is not the mastermind. She's a mouthpiece or something for the actual mastermind, which is Kristen. Part of me is like, hey, Jasmine, how do you feel knowing that Janet doesn't look at you as like any kind of mastermind? You are a mouthpiece. You're like a pawn for her. Like, I don't know. I really struggle with everything around this, and I guess I just kind of lost respect for Jasmine.
And Jason brought this. It felt like you have some long suppressed deep resentment towards my wife, and it all came out in that moment, but it feels like they go deep and they need to be resolved. And that was also handled very casually, like it was nothing. I was just angry and it was an outburst and that's it. And
Yeah, how could you just readily accept that?
I mean, the
Vibe
things
killer,
she
Karen
said.
energy.
Even if you're angry on somebody, it feels like there is a context to it.
Yeah.
It was not random, right?
Yeah.
Those are not random slurs, or you only do that when you're hurt.
Yeah, that came from, like, there was substance behind those words.
Yes.
So, again, another unbelievable thing that, like, Janet would just simply accept that, like, oh, you were joking? Okay, cool.
That's what I said. That's the most unbelievable Janet I've ever seen. Like, they came prepared. They were wearing white, right?
Were they? Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh my god, I think they were.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't care for it. Especially because, like, the way things go in a later scene, I just feel, like, super annoyed with Janet. The fact that she has any allies in this show frustrates me. But I guess, like, that's what you do to keep the show entertaining, to fuel future drama. Next thing that we see is Brittany is preparing for Jax to get out of rehab. So she's doing a couple of things. One, she's invited the friends
All the girls, basically.
to come pack up Jax's things so that Jax doesn't really have a reason to come back to the house. And
She doesn't want to confront him again.
yeah, and she bought a lot of fast food, and Michelle is one of the friends who was coming over, and Michelle doesn't eat the fast food that like Brittany purchased. And part of me is like wondering about this because it's like, how close are they all as friends? Because how do you not know what Michelle's dietary preference is? She is coming over to do a favor for you. It also sounds like it was more so organized by Janet and Kristen, who have temporarily called truce because this thing is bigger.
To support their girl, Brittany.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was just weird for me in that moment because I feel like that's one of the first things that like would come up when you're hosting. It's just like, who is coming? What do you guys eat?
But I think the food ordering part was handled by Brittany solely. They're not concerned about that. As you know, Brittany loves fast food, so
It's a relatively minor thing, but for me, because we'd already heard from Michelle, is this another way that like we see that this is why she doesn't get the same treatment? I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like she's on the same level. I am still getting ahead of myself here. I'll just hold it for later. But
she's giving the vibe that doesn't belong. Every now and then, I could feel it that she doesn't belong and she's not getting supported and she's not getting that kind of treatment.
She does feel
To make
separate, yeah.
worse.
Yeah. You know, like I'm remembering that one time before they went to like Santa Barbara for their, their trip, and she was trying to rally the girls to like
Yes, to ask Jesse not to stay at the house.
Yeah, and it was weird because he was the one who booked the rental in the first place, and so no one was really on board there. And I get her perspective. Like, Jesse is also bad, and it is downplayed a lot in the show relative to Jax.
Like,
but
you could have said that I'm not going to that party. I don't understand why you want to go to that party and not let him stay in the house.
the solution is weird. Yeah, like it's illogical.
I would have uninvited myself
Yeah.
and then see who is supporting or standing with me.
I mean, I guess that, again, like, it forces a situation of, like, oh, you have the interesting beach scene, and then you have the boring non-beach scene that barely is televised. Yeah, it is really great that everyone's there. They're literally just taking Jax's stuff and putting it into trash bags, and Brittany is tearing up as she sees things, and it is really sad. I know, guys. I know Jax is horrible. I know Jax and Brittany need to separate. I also still feel the sadness of it. Oh
yes,
God.
exactly. We both felt it.
Yeah, I struggle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that because I know. And then one of the last things that we see here is Brittany meets with a divorce lawyer and she basically starts filing papers. Yeah. I mean, honestly though, like having her telling that divorce lawyer everything that she's been experiencing. Jax has been throwing furniture, punching walls, obviously the surveillance with the cameras in the house, what's happened with the mortgage, and the additional money that she has to pay because of Jax not paying his taxes. And then him getting a lease. He is absolutely fucking with her in so many ways. I'm not sad about Jax and Brittany necessarily. I'm sad for Brittany grieving because I'm sure in her mind she tried as hard as she could. I'm sure in her mind that she hoped that this would have been as beautiful and as like a forever thing, a forever partnership, a forever marriage. They don't ever talk about divorce. They don't mention that never was going to be them and their future, but it is now. So I'm sure there's a lot for her to process, and I am sad for her. And now we get to, I think it's primarily Kristen and Zach, and then maybe Nia was helping a little bit here, who for one night only rebranded Jax's bar into Brit's bar.
Yeah.
And so putting stuff over Jax's sign, replacing his photos with her photos. Again, it's really great. Everyone rallying around her. We get another moment where Michelle is kind of talking about how she just doesn't feel that same support.
Yes.
I feel like it's different. Like, we as an audience who were probably like with this cast from Vanderpump Rules, I kind of get why the focus is more so on Jax and Brittany because we are familiar with them. We know them. We've just been exposed to more of the crazy that Jax brought to Brittany, to the show. For us, we really know how dangerous he is, and Jesse has been a glimpse. Like, there are times in the after show where I can hear him kind of calling out Jax, and I'm just like, okay, there's a line there at least, and it's not as far as where Jax has drawn his. I get what she wants, but part of me is like, this is maybe just not how it's being produced. Like, this is just not.
You agree with this or not, but they are the star of the show. At least
Yeah.
Like they're the founding members, kind of, on whose shoulders the whole show is.
Yeah, that shirt, number one guy in this group.
Yes.
So yeah, that's one thing that's happening. We learned that Kristen and Janet had actually talked about the ring rumor, and so everything was supposed to have been fine before the beach scene. I don't really get the timeline here because yeah, they squashed it for Brittany, but then apparently Janet was talking to Sheena, and the footage that we got there is the scene before the beach party or the beach scene. So I'm just like, I don't understand the timeline here. Okay, just taking it at face value that like they were supposed to resolve things. Kristen is upset because she's hearing that like Janet is still talking shit. And then Danny is kind of overhearing this, and so he jumps into the conversation about how Janet is just always talking about other people. It's an opening for Janet to now go against Danny, and she's just calling him like Darkside Danny.
Go gung ho on Danny, full on.
It's weird though because everyone is jumping on it, but like I don't think I really observed Danny being like a raging alcoholic, being aggressive and angry and everything like that. Like,
But that was not his conversation or fight to jump into.
yes, that was what Nia was saying. Yeah.
And he would not have done that if he's not having drinks. If he that kind of person and everybody knows about it, they would not have reacted like that. But Danny, you don't jump into other people's conversations. You basically maintain your calm and composure all the time, and you only get so talkative and expressive only after a few drinks.
I'm sure Janet was begging for this moment too, and just thinking about what
True.
Darkside Danny looks like. I don't know. I think he's not that bad. I find it weird that everyone was kind of jumping in on it too. Like I think Jesse was trying to like be like, let's take a walk. Jason was adding on to it, like you should take.
Jason was
space or
full on
whatever.
offense too.
Yeah. Maybe it's because we have seen so much worse
Yeah.
in Vanderpump Rules that I'm just
Yes.
like, this is nothing. Like maybe it's just
For
my
the Valley
perception
standards?
is so warped now, but I just didn't see a problem with what Danny was doing. He wasn't getting aggressive. He wasn't throwing drinks in anyone's faces. There were no punches flying. So I think he was fine. He clears out. But Janet is again making the statement about how like husband is not the one here grabbing asses, and Luke in a confessional, I don't know if he talks about it there in the scene, talks about how there Janet goes again, just kind of like talking.
She kept on talking about other people all the time.
Yeah, I don't know his exact words, but he was basically calling out Janet for continuing to talk about other people.
Yeah.
Our last scene is kind of just like Janet doubling down, saying that Danny is misplacing his anger because he did something embarrassing, and Janet is choosing to talk about this thing that embarrasses him. It brings me back to that beach scene where Jason wanted everyone to like understand, Jasmine talks shit about everyone here, and it's just like, so how about your wife? And this whole show is all about talking shit. It's the hypocrisy that bothers me. It's a double standard that bothers me. Please be at least a little self-aware when you're talking to people. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for joining. And that's a wrap on today's episode of B-Side Reality.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We had a blast breaking it all down.
If you enjoyed the convo, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
See you soon with a brand new episode. Bye.
Bye.